Hello, everybody. Good morning, Sunday morning. I'm not alone. However, the legend is downstairs wrapping up photos and framed pictures to eventually we will move. So I lost track of time. Give me a second. I will get Spreaker started just in case any of you want to listen on Spreaker. Of course, I lose track of time and I don't pay attention. So nuggets and more today. We're going to do maybe some crystal ball. We're going to talk about the qualifying offer, and we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers a little bit. We're going to talk about all kinds of things today. It's off season now, so we could get ready for next year. I looked at all the position eligibility by hold on. Welcome aboard, Spreaker people. So we're live on both platforms now, Spreaker or Facebook. You can always come to LennyMelnickFantasySports.com/live to listen and chat with our friends. So I did go through and created a spreadsheet for the position eligibility of players. Basically, looked at all of the games played by position and narrowed it down to those who have multiple position eligibility. I have to say that a couple of things I noticed right away. I think there's a lot less position eligibility at second base coming up again. Yet last year was kind of or middle infield in general. I think last year was maybe the last couple seasons, it felt like there was a lot of middle infielders that you didn't really need. You were almost like swayed away from drafting a middle infielder super early because you knew that there were going to be some middle infielders available later in the draft. But I have to say, I don't think that's going to be the case next year. And it really wasn't. It didn't really pan out that way, I don't think. I believe that middle wasn't quite as deep as we expected it to be, although first base, like everybody plays first base now because there are 63 multi-position eligible players in MLB, according to 2021. And every single one of those players manned first base at least once. I think there was 6 of them that had less than 5 starts at first base, but 59 out of 63. So there's, I think, 4. Anyway, 59 out of 63 multi-position eligible players played at least 5 games at first base. So that's kind of interesting to me. I don't think I've ever seen it quite like that, whether it's, that their multiple position is first base and outfield or first base and second base or any of the mixture. First base is included in all of the multi-position eligible players, which begs the question, okay, yesterday was free agent qualifying offer deadline. So teams had to make a qualifying offer to the players that they were going to make a qualifying offer to yesterday at 4:00. There's a list of players that we were no big surprises here. One thing I just, there's going to be some nuggets. We're going to talk about some players, some waiver wire pickups, or waivers in MLB. They call it waivers. We call it waiver wire in fantasy. But Wade Miley was picked up by the Cubbies. Interesting that the division rival would pick up this guy after a great, he had a good season in 2021. I'm really surprised that the Reds decided to let him go without even, they could have traded him. They could have paid $10 million to him and then traded him, but they apparently are that strapped on cash or just didn't want to keep Wade Miley, and Wade Miley was picked up by the Cubbies, and the Cubbies, they get him for the $10 million that he was owed, and we'll see. Even if he comes anywhere near what he did last year, it's just odd that the Cincinnati Reds would drop him like this. So here's how it works. If the player, so the deadline was yesterday. The amount is $18.4 million, and this really could be the final year of the current qualifying offer system because, the the expiration of the collective bargaining agreement on December 1st. Of course, if you believe anything the sports media has to say, you would be under the impression right now that it's almost guaranteed that they're going to have a lockout, that they're going to go on strike. I do not agree with that. I know that I'm the odd guy out here, but I'm used to that. And I just really think that I'm so down on the media in general in this day and age. And the sports writers are absolutely on another level of just lazy, mean, judgmental, everything that comes out of these media outlets. And it used to be that sports really kind of separated itself from, all the politics and stuff, but these people are like crazy angry, and they accuse people. They're just mean, really. To be honest with you, they're mean and lazy. If I had two words to say about the sports journalism today, it would be mean and lazy and very judgmental. Anyway, the majority of them just, it's like they don't even try to think on their own. So they just basically all say the same thing. When one guy, if Ken Rosenthal says that they're probably going to go on strike, then every media outlet is like, it's almost guaranteed they're going to be on strike. I don't think that's the case. And regardless of what our opinions are, that's not fact. We don't know what's going on. No sports writer knows any more than the next guy, because the managers and the players association are not talking to the media. And I mean, if you figured out anything with what happened with Aaron Rodgers, they're so infuriated at the fact that he lied to them. They're so infuriated about that, I mean, and then you wonder why he lied. Well, maybe because he was afraid that he was going to be attacked, and like he is being attacked as we speak. So it just goes to show why he would want to lie, because he doesn't want to be the face of the anti-vax label in football. Who could blame him for that? So we're going to talk about that later, but let's talk about this qualifying offer. I think this is so fascinating. I had no idea that out of the 96 players that have been offered a qualifying offer, okay, 96 players have been offered the qualifying offer, and 10 of them have accepted it. And it's a lot of money if you think about it. $18.4 million in a time and place where, man, if you're ever going to take the qualifying offer, this might be the year to do it, because you don't want to be a free agent if there is a work stoppage. You just don't. I don't think you do. I don't really know for sure, but it seems so much like I would be concerned that teams don't want to sign free agents right now. If you decline this qualifying offer, you better be good, because the next team is going to have to give you something better than 18.4 million, and they're going to have to give up a draft pick if that player is offered and then he declines it. Then the team that signs him has to give up draft pick or international signing money, or they penalize them for this. So interesting that only 10 of the 96 players to receive a qualifying offer have actually taken the deal. And every year there's players that you're like, whoa, I can't believe that guy got offered a qualifying offer to begin with. But the list isn't that surprising this year, to be honest. I didn't really see like any names that stood out that were like kind of crazy. So, players are not even eligible for a qualifying offer if they were traded in the middle of the season. So there's a long list of guys that maybe would come to mind as, a potential to get this qualifying offer. They don't get it, and you only get it once in your career. So, you can be offered it more than once, but if you take it, that's it. If you reject it, that's it. Wait, can you be offered it more than once? I don't think so. I think you can only be offered it one time. No. I don't know. Lenny, help me out with this. Can you be off if you say no to the qualifying offer? Are you still eligible to get another qualifying offer if you're a free agent again, or if you are I don't know about that, but I do know players have until November 17th to decide whether or not they want to take the offer. There's guys like Nick Castellanos, Michael Conforto, Robbie Ray. I mean, if I was Robbie Ray, I would hella sign that, take it. But I don't think he's going to take it. I think Robbie Ray is really going to take his career stats and go hit the free agency with, and which is, to me, it's risky. I don't know who would want it. I just don't know who's willing to sign Robbie Ray. Yes, he had a great season last year for the most part. Definitely a good season. But his career, dude, that would be the outlier season in comparison to the rest of his career. So who knows if he's going to be able to continue what he did last year. All I know is that I would, if I were him, I would be concerned about that. The some other nuggets that we have here. Astros. Yeah, Astros offer Correa, Carlos Correa, the guy that leads WAR, dude, for position players. He led in WAR, and they offer him $160 million, 5 years. Aiden is in the show. Aiden, Lenny just came upstairs to tell me that you're here, little Aiden. Dude, so nice to see you, okay? We miss you, and we look forward to seeing you again with your dad next time we come around to St. Louis. This kid is an amazing kid, very fun, very nice guy. His dad's good people. Thanks for joining us, Aiden. Hopefully baseball's going good for you. I know you were pitching last time I checked in with you. Let us know in the chat room how that's going. So the Carlos Correa offer, they offer him 165 years. That was actually up from what they wanted to offer him, which was like 120 or something. And, you know, I don't know if it's insulting or not, but Carlos Correa was like, heck no. I don't know who his agent is. Maybe it's Scott Boras. Maybe not. But any agent would be like, no. So hopefully I don't know. I can see Correa going somewhere else. But, this morning I've seen the term Big Four and Big Five. So apparently we're going to have like this nickname going through to 2022 with all the shortstops available. The Big Five, the Big Four, whatever. I don't know if that's good or bad for these guys. I would say it can't be great. If you are one of the only shortstops available, your chances of getting paid good are better than if you're just one of a handful of great shortstops available. So it's bad timing for these guys, in my opinion. Kimbrell, though, Chicago White Sox, it's nice to hear this about Kimbrell. He had, he struggled some along the way, but this past year he was excellent. He had a 2.43 FIP. He struck out 15 batters per 9 innings, and he still got 24 saves, even with Liam Hendricks in the second half of the season. Now they have Liam Hendricks and Craig Kimbrell. Some people say that there's a good chance that they turn around and trade Kimbrell. Who knows? But obviously the White Sox are in definitely in competing. They're competing mode. Hopefully they'll have a healthier team than they did this past season, and they got 2 great closers. So, that's not great for fantasy, but it's very great for the White Sox. Jock Peterson. Now, this is interesting. There's a couple players like Buster Posey retired. Jock Peterson, he declines a mutual option for $10 million. This guy declines a $10 million option. I mean, if Douglas were here, he would be amazed too, I'm sure, because he does not appreciate Jock Peterson at all. And he plays an extremely deep, there's so many of this type of player out there. A player that can't hit, that needs to platoon, basically can't hit lefties or righties, and just a horrible batting average for the most part. Definitely a power guy, can hit home runs when in doubt, but how much is he worth? Is he worth more than $10 million? What do you guys think of that? He declines a mutual option for $10 million, and then he gets a $2.5 million buyout. He's got 6 years of service time, so he enters the free agency. And, I'm reading MLB trade rumors. I love MLB trade rumors. I think it's a great source of information. The guy's like, well, there's a multi-year deal seems possible. And it's like, does it though? Does a multi-year deal really seem possible for Jock Peterson? I don't. I question that whether or not it would seem possible. Of course, it's possible, but if he turns down, let's say he gets, I mean, so if he gets offered a multi-year deal, I could almost guarantee it's going to be less than 10 million a year. I don't know why anybody, I don't know. Would you guys pay 10 million a year for Jock Peterson? And so he could settle in it again for a 1-year deal, but even then, it's like, is he going to take less money than 10 million? He might be forced into it. Who knows? If they close baseball down for sure, the entire free agency just freezes. So I don't know. The White Sox declined the $6 million club option for Cesar Hernandez, which is, that's interesting for 2022. There was no buyout either. But Kimbrell, 8-time All-Star. He was excellent. Liam Hendricks, we already talked about this. Tonight, don't forget, George Roto Imbecile's on. He says, as the manager of Rocky Balboa once said about boxer Spider Rico is a bum. That's the way I feel about Jordan Danks. George hates Jordan Danks or doesn't really like him, apparently. So this evening, we'll talk about some of the banishments off the 40-man roster, the retirement of Buster Posey, what will Freddie Freeman command in free agency, and Charlie Blackmon will be heading back to Coors. So that's tonight at 6:30, the Roto Imbeciles right here, Lenny Melnick, fantasysports.com/live. George is a very unique character, and he is always entertaining to listen to. So if you can, stop back by and check it out. We'll be here in the chat room always. Hi, Malpal. Nice to see you. Robert C. Beautiful to see you too. Aiden, I love it. Let me see who else. Captain 15 is here. J.R. Matz, nice to see you too. Mitchell Hartson was here a little while ago, and some guests. Hunter Harvey, 26 years old, was claimed off the waivers by guess who? One of the best pitching coaches, maybe the best pitching system in baseball. I mean, they've turned around pitchers that I didn't think was possible. Anyway, he gets claimed off of waivers by the Giants. He only played 9 games for Baltimore. I should say he only pitched in 9 games last year because he had oblique problems, lat problems, tricep injury. Here's the thing about this Hunter Harvey cat. Baltimore opted to remove him from the 40-man roster. That's how he ended up on waivers. But he was actually considered for quite a number of years to be one of the Orioles' top prospects. And even up till this past season, we kind of said, oh, we see the name Hunter Harvey and we say, oh, he's going to be the closer if he ever gets healthy. That's the story of his life, if he ever gets healthy. So, I mean, he's had a ton of injuries, and they basically said, we're done with it. We're not going to deal with it anymore. And so the Giants pick him up, of course. I want to go back here and look at the depth charts because the closer situation in San Francisco is, I think it's pretty darn deep. They have Jake McGee, Tyler Rodgers, a lot of different cats, but we'll see. I mean, Hunter Harvey throws hard. His biggest problem is the fact that he just can't stay healthy, right? So we'll see what happens there, but definitely another option here. The Giants going into this season, every single starting pitcher that they had last year is no longer with the team except for Logan Webb. He's the only one on the depth charts for the starting rotation. As we get into the offseason more and more, we will talk about the rotations, the free agents, and stuff like that. Of course, December 1st is going to be an interesting day because we will find out so much more about, the situation with baseball than on December 1st. We'll see. I really do have hope, and I believe that they will come up with a negotiation here, a compromise, because, it's not just the players that lose, the fans lose, everybody loses, but the ownership also loses big time. In fact, I would say that it's in everybody's best interest to get some kind of deal worked out. However, I think after 2020, the players are maybe not as willing to budge as they used to be. I think it really became apparent that the owners didn't really care too much about the players when the whole COVID thing happened. And I guess that's, if there's any positive to have about COVID, you really find out who people are during this craziness. All right. So, like I talked about before, Wade Miley, claimed by the Cubbies, division rivals, unbelievable. He doesn't strike out a lot of batters, right? But he still avoids walks and he induces ground balls. So, if you listen to the roundtable on Monday, Malpal and I talked a lot about the formula that we both think is really a great starting point for projecting potential breakout pitchers. It's a projection stat, really, not doesn't say like, oh, this guy's really, he's really great. But if you do look at the ground ball rate and you add it to the strikeout rate, and it, 70 is the breaking point. So if they reach 70 with their ground ball plus strikeout, it just means that they keep the runners off the base paths. Malpal and I have been messing around with it a little bit more, adding in, digging deeper to balls and, walks and home runs allowed. That becomes important when you're looking at players. Pitchers, I would say for me, I would rather have a guy that has a lower strikeout and ground ball rate if he has no problem with walks. I would say that's a better option than having a guy with a huge strikeout and walk score, but he walks like 5 batters per 9 or gives up 2 home runs per 9 or something like that. I would say I don't want that guy because I do not like that. The goal of a pitcher is to keep runners off the base paths, and that's why, looking at ground balls and strikeout percentage, it does help to target potential breakouts for next season. So anyway, here's Wade Miley. Doesn't strike out a lot of batter, but definitely doesn't walk a lot of batters either. Kept the ball on the ground, 49.4% ground ball rate. I mean, his FIP was 3.97. So, his ERA was a lot lower than that, 3.37. That's a big difference. So there is a discrepancy there. I mean, in the past 5 seasons, Wade Miley's had 3 seasons with an ERA above 5 and 2 seasons with an ERA below 4. So the guy is all over the place, all right? He's now a Cubby, so we'll see what happens there. I think the Cubbies were pretty smart to jump on this trend, jump on this pitcher that they just let go of. I mean, for $10 million, I think the Cubbies hardly have any payroll right now. But you got to remember the Diamondbacks, the Orioles, the Pirates, the Nationals, the Marlins, and the Rangers all passed on Wade Miley. That kind of tells you, I don't know if it tells you anything, but, it does. To me, it makes me think that these teams are not really, they're probably not going to make a lot of moves this offseason. That's just who knows? Maybe they just didn't like Wade Miley, but it seems to me that he's a pretty big catch just sitting there on waivers like that. There is a guy to keep an eye out for, an outfielder, Seiya Suzuki. He's going to be available for MLB teams to post, the posting process, He's 27 years old. And he's been compared to Ronald Acuna Jr. I never go for these comparison nonsense. But this guy, he's 27. Like I said, he's 27 years old. He's not going to be subject to any international signing bonus limitations because he's played 6 years or more and he's at least 25. So that's good. That's a good sign. I mean, not all of these guys that post are actually signed in the majors, so it's not a guarantee that he gets signed, but he had a great season last year. He posted career highs in OPS, home runs, and games, right? So he's played in 131 games, hit 38 home runs, and his OPS was .079, which is pretty darn good. He also is a 5-time Japanese baseball, Nippon Baseball League All-Star. He's a 5-time All-Star, and he earned MVP honors at the 2019 WBSC Premier 12 tournament. So whatever that means. But bottom line, the guy hits for power. 38 home runs is quite a bit of home runs. He played 131 games, so we know he can be quite healthy. He's a righty. He's got patience at the plate. Definitely power. I didn't see anything. I don't see the stats on his stolen bases, but I know he can run. He can steal bases. He's capable of this. So when they compare him to Ronald Acuna Jr., I think to myself, why? Like, what is it about him that made you compare him to Ronald Acuna Jr.? Why didn't you compare him to, I don't know, Wilmer Flores? Why didn't you? What makes it? What about him? Is it his patience at the plate? Well, we're not sure that translates that great. Okay, so that's one issue. But anyway, my bottom line is here, this is all going to depend on market value, because when people get excited about these new guys, I remember when Shohei Ohtani was signed and everybody was going crazy for Shohei Ohtani. And look, Ohtani did not immediately become a superstar in baseball. And my theory, and I'm not always right on this, but my theory, especially with Asian players, is that there's no way in heck that I'm going to put these guys on my team, and I'm not going to spend the money that people are willing to spend on these guys that are coming into a brand new country, don't speak the language, don't know the culture, and it's a completely different game. So yes, while it's still baseball, it's definitely, I would say that the skill sets are higher here in MLB, and the numbers don't always translate, especially they're not going to translate right away. You're like a brand new, you're brand new to everything. It's just, I would say, give them time to acclimate a little bit. I don't recommend spending a bunch of your draft budget on these guys, but other people in your league will. So that's a choice you have to make. You're either going to spend a lot of money to get them, or you're not going to get them. Anyways, the Mets, they could be a team that's interested. Who knows? The Mets can't even get a freaking manager over there. There was a lady that they were considering, to hire, and she had an interview with the Mets front office, and literally a day later, she withdrew her name. So I don't know what these people are saying in these manager interviews. Like, she's from Boston, like she works for the Red Sox. Anyway, it's not just her. I just thought, that's good that it seems that baseball's really turned a corner as far as allowing women to do jobs that were once only for men. And so, you saw Miami do it first, and now it seems like that is not going to be the end of the list of women doing this job. And I'm sure there's pluses and minuses to having a woman in that position, but it is nice to see definitely that the sports leagues are willing to give women a chance to do the job that men always did. Now, I really am against hiring a woman just because she's a woman. That is absolutely not a good idea for anybody. And really, women don't want to be looked upon like that. And I think that for sure being a woman has opened a lot of doors for myself. I've never one time been feeling like I wasn't welcome, or I think that 99.9% of the time I was actually more welcomed because of being a woman. So there's that. But it is nice to see, and it should be based on how good you're going to do at the job. How good are you going to do the job? So Andrew Velasquez, guy played 20 games for the Yankees last year. He's 27 years old, but here's this. Andrew Velasquez is his name. He played for Tampa Bay, Cleveland, Baltimore, and the Yankees already. He's got a career 525 OPS, okay? And he's had 181 plate appearances, okay, for all these teams. He mostly plays shortstop, but he can play other positions. He's a switch hitter. They compare him to Jack Mayfield. I'm the Angels, they need a lot of work. They really should try to actually get this done. Just doing it halfway is never going to win a championship. And Mike Trout is not going to be young forever. So they really need to get on with this. They have Rendon, Trout. Who else do they have on that team? They have they have some players that can't wait around forever to win. And if they don't invest in pitching, they're never going to win. Corey Seager, another shortstop, right? He's a big four. Is there big four or big five? Remember when they had the big three pitchers? It was like, I think it was Max Scherzer and there was three. It was the big three. Now it's the big four shortstops. Carlos Correa or Corey Seager is one of them. Definitely going to get the qualifying offer. But I don't think any of these guys are going to take the qualifying offer. I don't think any of the big four, call them what you will. Trevor Story is going to get a qualifying offer from the Rockies. Okay. He's probably not going to take it. Nobody's going to take it. When I found out that only 10 people have taken the qualified offer in the past 96 times that's been offered since it started, I was amazed at that. So again, Carlos Correa, $160 million for 5 years. They're going to have to offer him like $250 at minimum. You just can't. That's half what they offered him, $160 million for 5 years. That's less than half of what Francisco Lindor got, and Lindor wasn't even a free agent. And the rumor has it that it was actually bumped up from $125 million for 5 years. And this guy led the league in WAR for position players, at least. Moving on, the Toronto Blue Jays, right? They decided not to offer Steven Matz the qualifying offer. They did not. They said it was a tough decision, but they decided not to. They did make him a multi-year offer, though, that he declined. So Steven Matz, again, hitting free agency. And I don't know, that's risky too, man. They offer him a multi-year contract. He declines that. Then they decide not to give him a qualifying offer, and he is now a free agent. He is going to be lucky. He's going to be right there with Jock Peterson, taking risks. Robbie Ray is another one. They did extend the qualifying offer to Robbie Ray. And, okay, fine. Is he going to take it? I don't think he's going to take it. Michael Conforto and Noah Syndergaard both got qualifying offers. I can almost guarantee that Conforto is not going to take it, but Syndergaard, does he really have I don't think he can decline it. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think Noah Syndergaard has proven himself to be healthy long enough to decline an $18 million qualifying offer. He's going to have to take it. He should take it. If he has a brain, he should take it. Okay. Joe Kelly, no offer for Joe Kelly. The Dodgers declined his option for the 2022 season. They're going to pay him $4 million buyout instead of $12 million salary. And you can add him to the list of free agents. So there's a lot of free agents. Annabel Sanchez, remember him? Used to pitch for the Tigers at one point. And I think he also pitched for the Marlins. I think. I'm not positive, but I love Annabel Sanchez. He's undecided on whether he wants to pitch or if he wants to coach. So he could begin a coaching career this next season. He's 37 years old, and he hasn't pitched in Major League Baseball since 2020, but he did start for Team Venezuela in the Olympic qualifying. So he's still pitching. I think that if I had to put my bet on something, he's coaching, not playing, pitching in the majors. Another guy that probably, who knows, but Rich Hill, he's 41. He's still planning to pitch next year. That's according to his agent. He had a 3.86 ERA, over 158 innings, okay, this season. I didn't realize that Rich Hill pitched that many innings. 158 and 2/3 innings he pitched with the Rays and the Mets. So, we'll see. He's 41. He wants to keep pitching. I guarantee he doesn't have that many innings on his arm. He doesn't have a lot of wear and tear because he's never healthy too. This guy. Never healthy too. All right, we'll talk a little bit about the player eligibility, then we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers, and we could do some crystal ball, or Lenny says I could do it on Tuesday morning. Check on the chat room. Hello, Big Al on the prowl. Very nice to see you, my friend. What is that? Big League Chew? What is that? 23.50. Are you bidding on Big League Chew, Reggie Jackson? Oh no, these are all baseball cards. Let me look at this photo. I can only see part of the photo. It says Reggie Jackson Clark Upper Deck baseball cards. Well, if they're between the years of 1988 and 1993, they're probably not worth much. But the packages look like there's a lot of cards in there. How many cards are in those packages? Are you selling these or buying these, dude? I've been listing stuff on eBay. We've been cleaning out our attic, I mean, if you're pulling stuff down from the attic and you haven't seen it in the last 7 years, you have to ask yourself, you know what I mean? You have to say to yourself, would I really be that sad if we didn't keep this? And so it's tough trying to figure out what to throw away and what not to throw away. I used to buy all kinds of things to sell on eBay, and I don't really like listing things as much as I like buying things at the Goodwill. So I have all of this stuff that is stuff that I bought to sell but never bothered to list it. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels that way or that happens too, but I definitely enjoy digging for the stuff more than I enjoy listing it. Although I have to say, lately I've been listing on eBay again, and the process of listing things on eBay has gotten so much easier. They've really come a long way with making it easier to list. So anyway, we have tons of stuff, sports things like I listed a Doug Williams jersey, Washington Redskins jersey, but a Mitchell and Ness jersey, Doug Williams, first black quarterback to win. And then I listed a pair of throwback Nike 1977 warm-up pants. That's fun. I do like listing the sports stuff, of course. And Lenny's got so many baseball cards, and we have like every Sports Illustrated you've ever seen, dude, in the attic. So we've been spending like the last week or so going through the stuff up there, and we have found some treasures, I have to admit. Let's see what our buddy's saying here. Big Al, Mitch Hartson. Oh wait, rankings, Aiden? Do you have rankings? I gotta go look at what's this. Aiden has rankings. Oh, he's working on his baseball rankings. Dude, we do rankings, absolutely. You should come around and we'll chat about it. The rankings for next season. Are you going to play? I hope that, Aiden, you will join us in a fantasy league this year. I think it's time. If you're doing rankings, hello, you're in. You're in for sure. The rankings, that's great. So do they still make Reggie bars? Crystal ball on Tuesday. Okay. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers for a minute. I've already made it clear my opinions. Everything that I say is my opinion. I'm not trying to act like I'm right. Everybody else is wrong. I just have my own personal opinion. Everybody has an opinion. So, it is what it is. The problem, one thing Aaron Rodgers said that I think is so true, and I will repeat it constantly, that this should be a conversation and not a controversy. And it seems all too often that it's like you can't even talk about things and have a discussion without somebody getting just infuriated with you. And if you don't fall in line, and a lot of people, and this Aaron Rodgers is a perfect example, are afraid to say something because they know the repercussions if they go against the grain. So what happens if you're like, if you have an opinion that's not the same, you're not allowed to discuss your opinion because you're afraid of being canceled. And at what point do you have to say, like, I mean, I wish Aaron Rodgers would have been more outspoken about it, but I do not blame him one bit for lying to the sports journalists. The reporters are judgmental and angry all the time. It's like they're on a mission to find out who's not vaccinated so they can go and smear the person in the media. And everybody has their own reasons for either vaccinating or not vaccinating, but you know, it, it's kind of hard to believe that they're mandating something that just doesn't work as a vaccine. It doesn't stop the spread. So I read in comments and I listen to these ESPN guys, and everything is so negative about Aaron Rodgers. They're just infuriated that he lied to them. And he said he has been immunized, and that is very misleading, and it is not really being honest. But I'm immunized too. I've had every vaccine that was recommended to me my entire life, but I am not going to take this vaccine. So, no, I'm not vaccinated against COVID. But when he said I'm immunized, he thought he was being sneaky. And they say that Aaron Rodgers didn't tell NFL, that they say that he's not following protocol. And he said that he has to get up every day at 5:00 in the morning and be there to test every single morning. He's not allowed to have any kind of meals with his buddies, even though he did go to a Halloween party just last week. He was at a Halloween party and everybody's mad at him because he didn't have a mask on. Okay, I understand. Whatever. Everybody has a right to look at it however they want, but the truth of the matter is this. By getting vaccinated, you are not stopping the spread of COVID, and it's time that people face it. It does not stop the spread. So when people try to claim that we can go back to normal life and get rid of COVID, and we want to be done with COVID, and that these unvaccinated anti-vaxxers are keeping COVID alive, that's simply not true. Everybody can spread it. In fact, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask anywhere. You don't have these really tight protocols. What's the chances of you spreading it if you're not taking any precautions like the unvaccinated people have to do? So yes, he didn't wear a mask in the press room. He didn't wear a mask in there. And he didn't wear a mask at certain times when he's practicing. But if these people who are so angry at Aaron Rodgers for being selfish really believed in the vaccine, and it's actually, the claims that it keeps you from getting hospitalized or extra sick, if anybody actually believes that, then why are they so afraid of an unvaccinated person? It's getting really tiresome, really, to be honest with you, because there's so much more to this than just a vaccine. It's absolute coercion. It's complete control of your body. Whatever happened to my body, my choice? They say, well, when it affects other people, then it's no longer your body, your choice. Okay, but it doesn't, though, because everybody spreads it. And I can say that the NFL protocols are very similar to MLB protocols, in that if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a monitoring anklet. Okay, you don't have to get tested unless you have symptoms, then they test you. And if you come in contact with somebody who tests positive, you don't have to spend any time in quarantine if you're vaccinated, whereas the unvaccinated player spends 5 days. So the protocols in baseball and football are very similar, but let me take you back to last season in 2000. Before they had the vaccine, NFL had a full season. They did not cancel any games, And I can't speak for the number of players that got COVID, but I can say that none of them got very sick. In baseball, I can give more information because I very closely kept track of the players that went to the COVID list, the players that were vaccinated or not vaccinated. There are definitely some question marks because it's not public, but the media has made it their sole mission to find out. So a lot of these players you can it is easily available, but others it's not. So taking all of the information that I found on the COVID, the number of cases, and hold on a second, I got to pull this up. I closed it out on accident. There was 272 trips to the COVID injured list in 2021. I compared it to last season, 2020, when there was no vaccine. And frankly, there were more people on the COVID list this year than there were last year. And you have to wonder, because they're not testing as many people, not even close. Every single player was tested last year. In 2020, every player got tested every day. In 2021, they probably tested about an eighth of the players that they tested the year before. Back in March, the positive case percentage. So basically, you divide the number of positives by the number of tests and you get a percentage positive, right? The percentage positives were the same for last year and this year. And MLB reached 85% vaccinated status in May. If you look, and this is fully vaccinated, so if we're talking fully vaccinated, meaning that they've had both doses and they've waited 2 weeks after that. So fully vaccinated, 85% of baseball is fully vaccinated. They had their highest percentage positive for 3 weeks straight before it started to go back down. But we're talking about percentage positive, we're talking about 0.003% positive case rate. So on June 25th, 85.4% of baseball players were vaccinated fully. There were 237 trips to the injured list. Some of these trips to the injured list also included some where players had to take a day off from symptoms from the vaccine. They had some little side effects or whatever. So there were those trips too. These weren't all positives, but they also included quarantine, close contact, blah, blah, blah. Basically, it averaged out to about 1.46 players to hit the COVID list per game. And in 2020, there were 72 trips to the COVID list. Now, if you multiply that by 3, which is what I do for all the numbers for 2020, because they played about a third of the season, it would average out to 216 trips to the COVID list, which is less trips to the COVID list than in 2021 when they were testing like a fifth of the players. Average timeout in 2020 was 17 days. Average timeout in 2021 was 9.72 days. So definitely a decrease in the amount of days spent out on the COVID injured list. But again, the protocol changed significantly to when you're vaccinated, you only have to have 2 negative tests to get back. There's no minimum amount of days that you have to be out. For the unvaccinated players, even if they came in close contact with another positive case, if they're unvaccinated, they have to be out at least 5 days for quarantine. If they don't test positive in those 5 days, they can come out. But I think they have to miss at least 5 days. So there was at least 15 players that were vaccinated ended up on the COVID IL twice. And 29 in general, 29 players hit the COVID list twice between 20 and 21. So we're talking, the point is the numbers, they were never big to begin with. It's such a minuscule amount of people dying from this virus that it's really crazy that these mandates are happening. And I just I respect anybody's choices to get the vaccine, not get the vaccine. Everybody's got their own reasons why they should or should not. But like Mark, my stepson Mark, Lenny's son, got COVID in May. And I called my doctor and I said, Mark got diagnosed, he has COVID. He didn't really show any symptoms, but he was positive. His girlfriend was positive. She showed a little bit of symptoms, but I had been around them. So I called my doctor and I say, can you prescribe hydroxychloroquine just because I had close contact and you want to do something right then? Like this idea that you're supposed to just sit around and wait is crazy. Nobody can just sit around and wait. If you sit around and wait, that's how it kills you, because it gets out of control. You've got to be able to at least try to treat. At least you could feel better knowing that you're at least making an effort to treat it and not just sitting there waiting for it to replicate to the point of no return. So my doctor says, no, we won't give you that because we don't treat COVID, but we can vaccinate you. So come to the office, we can vaccinate you. But you don't even care if I already have COVID? What if I already have COVID? You want to still vaccinate me, or it doesn't matter? They say, well, just stay home, quarantine, and if it gets to the point that you can't breathe, go to the emergency room. Are you kidding me? I will not just wait around for that. And I think that any doctor that tells you that is not really this. To me, it's just crazy. The way that the media has treated people that choose not to get vaccinated like they're others. They're segregating them. They're doing things I never thought imaginable. So that's my rant for that. But Aaron Rodgers, I am a little disappointed because I think that this is the problem, a lot of what's going on right now, that we've allowed it to get out of control so bad because people are too afraid to stand up for the truth. So Kyrie Irving, the guy in the the basketball guy, he's missing, he's giving up millions and millions of dollars. It's not really just about the vaccine specifically. It's about the idea that you're forcing me to take this. And there's a lot of argument about whether or not it's legal, but you got these agencies like OSHA making up decisions and making laws. The CDC is deciding if you can be evicted from your home or not. Like, when did all these agencies get all this power to tell the American people what to do, what to say, what you can and can't talk about? And that's another thing too. Like, of course there's going to be adverse events that happen. Think about the number of people that we have vaccinated in this country. Hundreds of millions of shots have gone out. There is absolutely no reason to think that there isn't going to be some people that have a bad reaction. The fact that they're hiding it from the people should make everybody question, like, why are you keeping this? Why are you keeping these cases hidden and acting like they're not happening? And it doesn't take much to go find out that these things are happening, but it's really horrific that, these people that do have bad reactions, they are getting no help, no care. They're being told that they are liars. They're being told that they are faking it. They don't know what's wrong with them, and they're not going to even try to find out because it's not allowed. So think of that. If you actually decided to do something good for your country and do your part, and you go out, you get vaccinated, and now you can't walk. You can't, or you get myocarditis or something like that. But there are risks involved in every kind of treatment that you get. And the fact that they're just absolutely, without a doubt, hiding it. They won't let you talk about it. You can't even say the word ivermectin on YouTube, or your video gets taken down. What? Like, no matter what side of the political fence you sit on, if the American people don't stand up right now against these tyrannical rules and laws, it's going to get worse. So, I mean, it's got to be, I'm just very thankful that, I'm so grateful that I don't have to make a decision between getting this shot and my job and paying my bills. That would be a really horrible spot to be in. I hope that I would stand up against it. I hope that I would have some savings at this point, but who does? Who has savings after last year? Who has any savings? I don't know. It's it's a situation, but there's a there's a lot of people that are just going to walk out. So we have now here in New York, we have a situation where you can't go eat at restaurants if you're not able to prove that you're vaccinated. But by the way, to those of you who disagree with me and are very annoyed at what I'm saying right now, you're vaccinated, but you aren't going to be considered vaccinated in about 3 months when this mandate goes through. You're going to have to get a booster to be considered vaccinated. And if you're okay with getting booster shots every 6 months to keep your job, because there's new variants, and that's what viruses do. If you think that the one booster shot is going to make it all good and then we can really get rid of COVID, you have to be kidding yourself. They're going to make you get vaccinated again. And every time they do, your immune system is less and less capable of fighting the virus on its own. I mean, more power to you if you're okay with that. I'm not okay with that. And I don't think anybody should be okay with that. The ivermectin thing is another issue that, they have the clinical trials for everything under the sun, but they haven't done any clinical trials for ivermectin in this country in 2 years. It's been 2 years. So when you go to the FDA website and you say, oh, why shouldn't we use ivermectin? The reason listed is because there's no large studies that prove that ivermectin is either good or bad for COVID. We just don't know yet. Well, when are you going to know? Because to me, it seems like every country in the world has done studies on this, but us. How is that possible? We're getting our numbers out of Israel because when they say, oh, the vaccine is going to keep you from getting extra sick or hospitalized, how would anybody know that? Anybody that does baseball statistics should know that you need a certain set of numbers to do the math. To find out a batting average, you have to know how many times a hitter was at bat and how many times he got a hit. Those are the two stats that you need, the number of at bats and the number of hits. That gives you a batting average, but you have to have those two stats, and without them, you cannot figure out the batting average. So in order to figure out the rate of hospitalization on breakthrough cases, you have to actually keep track of breakthrough cases, and we're not. They stopped keeping track of breakthrough cases unless they're hospitalization or death. How do you know that the rate of hospitalization or death is lower for the vaccinated people if you don't keep track of the basic stat that you need to make that calculation? It's impossible. So when your mind tells you, in your mind, this doesn't make sense, that's called instinct. And I'm afraid that because of this angry mob of people out there that are willing to cancel you at the slightest objection, that people are not trusting their instincts and they're not willing to stand up, aka Aaron Rodgers. Part of me is annoyed at him for not just saying straight up to the media, you know what? It's none of your business if I'm vaccinated, number one. It's none of your business. The media, for some reason, they're so offended that Aaron Rodgers lied to them that they can't see straight. They're so pissed off they lost so much respect for this guy because he lied to them. Are you kidding me? There's no rule that says that these athletes have to be honest with the sports media and they don't have to tell you their medical status. If they do, that means that they're comfortable with you to tell you and they believe that you're not going to go out and write some hit piece on them. But when you are like rabid dogs and you're like, are you vaccinated? Are you vaccinated? And if a player tells you he's not vaccinated and the first thing you do is go and call him an anti-vaxxer, that's a lie. How about that? How about all the times the sports media lies? Should we be totally angry and just infuriated at the sports media for lying? Because frankly, you really can't be considered an anti-vaxxer just because you didn't take the COVID, and I will put in air quotes, vaccine, because it doesn't really do what a vaccine does. So that, if you have all your vaccines up to date, but you decide not to get a COVID vaccine because you're not sure of the data that's been come in, or that there hasn't been enough time to really know, like Aaron Rodgers wants to have kids. That's a big deal because this spike protein goes straight to your sexual organs. So we don't know what happens. So why, that's to me, that seems to be a valid reason. The girl at ESPN got fired. She didn't want to take the vaccine because she wants to start a family. I guess it's the same people that talk about my body, my choice and want to push abortion rights and stuff. They all of a sudden now don't believe that it's your body, your choice for the vaccine. Like, in my opinion, I know the reason that they claim that they're allowed to say one and not the other is because it doesn't affect anybody else. It doesn't affect anybody else when you get an abortion, but it does affect other people when you choose not to get vaccinated. But I still haven't heard a relevant explanation as to how it affects other people or keeps people less safe. Once you figure out that you can spread it and get it as a vaccinated person, then I'm sorry, dude. Again, seems very reasonable and clear that the idea of protecting everybody else goes out the window. So that's it for my rant. I'm going to continue. Now, let me talk a little bit about some of these position eligible players that I found. There's a couple on here that are like well-known superstars. They're going to be superstars next year, like Cavan Biggio, right? He only had, wait a minute, did he only have 294 at bats, 27? No, this can't be right. 27 RBIs. Oh yeah, Biggio wasn't good. I was thinking about Bichette, and I'm like, Bichette had a way better year than that. Anyway, Cavan Biggio, he entered the season multi-position eligible. He's not the guy. How about a guy like Austin Riley or Kyle Schwarber, right? We know what they are. Chris Bryant, this guy is, okay, Chris Bryant is going to qualify at first, third, and outfield next year. There's one player in all of baseball that qualifies at 5 positions: first base, second base, third base, shortstop, and outfield. He had 307 plate appearances last year, 5 home runs, 3 stolen bases. Now, this player is a lifetime, what's it called, utility guy. Marwan Gonzalez, he qualifies at 5 positions, okay? He'll qualify at corner, middle, and outfield. Then there's 3 players that qualify at 4 position. That's Harold Castro, Aledmus Diaz, and Jace Peterson. Out of these 3 guys, the one that I think is the most, I don't know, like Harold Castro is never going to be a fantasy tool player. He's going to have a decent batting average and he's going to get runs. He's probably going to get RBIs, but he's not going to steal bases. He's not going to hit a bunch of home runs. He's just not going to do that. But what about Hunter Dozier? He had a horrible season for the most part. He still finished with 16 homers and 5 stolen bases. And if you had him on your team at any point in the season, it might surprise you that he actually hit 16 homers because the guy did nothing for long spurts of a time. He did absolutely nothing. He will head into 2022 eligible at first, third, and outfield. So these multi-position eligible, that's an asset, right? So it definitely helps a player's value or ups a player's value. You have Kyle Schwarber, of course, he's going to be first base and outfield. Other guys like Jake Cronenworth, he's going to qualify at first base, second base, and shortstop. That's great. He'll, the fact when you find a player that qualifies at middle and corner, that's excellent. It's better than most other. You got guys like Jurickson Profar. What do you do with a guy like this? 412 at bats or plate appearances, 412. He's going to qualify at first base, outfield like he always does. But is he somebody that you guys are interested in? He did steal 10 bases. I don't know if he's going to have a job like every day. You have Lamont Wade, who had an excellent season, comes out of nowhere. He's going to qualify first base, outfield. Eduardo Escobar. Nobody loves Eduardo Escobar, but once again, this guy does put up the stats once again. 20. I mean, he's going to qualify at first, second, and third base going into next season. That's great. Phil Gosselin is another guy that I find very interesting in this category because he's going to qualify at both corners and outfield. He had 373 at-bats or plate appearances in 2021, but he hit 7 home runs and 4 stolen bases. Now, this is a guy that, he can do both. Hit for a little power and steal some bases. I don't think he's reached his plateau yet. Of course, you have Patrick Wisdom here. He qualifies at first, second, and outfield, and he hit 28 home runs. Williams Astudillo. This guy, oh no, he only had 216. Who else do we have on the list here? Wilmer Flores, I love, but he's definitely like last rounder type thing. DJ LeMahieu, first, second, and third base. He had 679, 10 home runs and 4 stolen bases. Pavin Smith, 545 plate appearances, 11 homers, 68 runs. Another guy that's down here on the list. What about Josh Bell? Josh Bell is finally going to be qualified. He's going to qualify at first and outfield, which is great. He had a very good season moving to the Nationals, hit 27 home runs, 75 runs, 88 RBIs. Josh Bell, 144 games. Sweet. I don't know where he'll fall in market value, but I think he's somebody that, the eligibility does up his value for sure. Then you have Ty France. Okay, Ty France, Seattle. Nobody pays attention, but he played 152 games, 650 at-bats, 18 homers, 85 runs, and 73 RBIs. No, he doesn't steal bases. What about Jonathan Scope? This guy, okay, middle infielder. He's also going to qualify at first base, so he'll be corner and middle infield eligible. Hits 22 home runs again. I don't know how many times he's broken 20 homers, but he seems like he's pretty reliable for this. 85 runs and 84 RBIs. This guy, Jonathan Scope. Who knows what will happen to him? JT Realmuto, he played 134 games. It felt like he did not play that many games. Did he? Are these the right stats? I feel like I'm not looking at the right stats, but I think they are. I really do. I think they're the right stats. Forgive me if they're not, but the names that I'm bringing up are definitely I definitely have the names right for this current season that we're talking about. Max Muncie had a great year, 36 homers, 95 runs, 94 RBIs. Max Muncie, right? So he's at his peak. Maybe has another season of being at his peak, but 144 games. He qualifies at first and second base. I could tell you Moustakas was a big letdown, but he will still qualify at first and third base. 6 homers and 206 plate appearances. Just a very disappointing season, which, his age has to be playing into this at this point. And I wonder, but I don't wonder this. I do not wonder about his market value being very affordable next year because people are just not wanting to deal with it. We came into this season with Mike Moustakas was basically injured from the day one, stayed injured for way too long to matter in fantasy. Austin Riley, what's his value going to be? This guy, man, over 100 RBIs. Okay, 91 runs scored, 33 homers. This guy, Austin Riley, the playoffs really are going to influence his market value anyway, but he had a great season, bottom line. All around, Austin Riley really broke out this season. Is he going to be drafted in the first or second round next year? I think he will. I'm not kidding. Look at his numbers. I don't know. I mean, this is when it helps to not know names, because if you've been following Austin Riley for a while, you may not think of him as like a a first-round player or a second-round player, but his numbers speak otherwise. I have to say his numbers are right up there. Okay, so you got Josh Bell, of course, Ryan Mountcastle, first base and outfield. A lot of these first base outfielder guys are a dime a dozen, but still, if they were on the verge of being fantasy relevant before, then this position eligibility has to help them for sure. Andrew Vaughn is going to qualify at first base and outfield. 107 games at outfield and 15 games at first base. Andrew Vaughn, 15 homers, 469 plate appearances, 15 homers. That's better than I thought. I really thought Andrew Vaughn was going to be one of these guys that you hear the term, he's a pure hitter, and immediately a red flag should go up for fantasy purposes, because yes, pure hitters are great and all, but pure hitters aren't going to be the guy that's going to hit 35 homers or steal 25, 30 bases. These are the types of guy that they bat near the top of the lineup because they have great plate discipline and they don't swing at balls and they get on base usually. But, for fantasy purposes, it's just, I really didn't think Vaughn was going to be this much of a power guy. Of course, Jared Walsh had a good season, 29 homers. Mountcastle, both of these guys, outfield and first base. So that's it. The position eligibility, like I said, there are 63 batters with multi-position eligibility. I tried to quickly put together and pull up the position eligibility from the past couple seasons. You have to completely disregard 2020. But going back further, I will do some more investigating on this and find out how it compares to 2019, the number of hitters. Some years there are very few multi-position eligible players, and some years there are plenty of them, I have to say. So I did a little bit of math telling you that every single one of these guys that qualify at more than one position played first base at least one time in 2021. There's out of 37 third basemen that are qualified at more than one position, 20 of them played first base. Is it first base? Wait, 20 of them played more than 20 times. 27 of them played more than 10 times, and 37 total. So there's 37 total third basemen who qualify at multiple positions. There's 14 shortstops. So a huge drop between third and shortstop. Only 14 batters qualify at shortstop and another position. 45 outfielders qualify at multiple positions. And every single one of these guys at least played first base once. And there's only 4 of these guys that didn't have at least 5 starts at first base. So I should tell you the number of first basemen that qualify with, I don't know it depends on what league you're in, but I could tell you this. There were 62 first basemen out of 65 total multi-position eligible players that played first base at least 10 times. There were 43 of them that played first base at least 15 times. So I'm just saying, if you're going to, basically 90% of these multi-position eligible players have first base on their eligibility. So first base is hella deep, okay? And you look at the corner outfielders compared to the middle or the corner infielders compared to the middle infielders, there's at least twice as many corner infielders than there are middle infielders this year. So it's not going to be the same dealio as we saw last year with all these extra middle infielders at the end of your draft. That's it, you guys. I hope that you have a wonderful day today. Reggie Bars, Sports Illustrated. Yeah, what is this one? Leonard Melnick. This would be, what year is that? I don't like the 90s. I really like the ones that go back to the 70s, and we have all kinds of those. Mantle card sold for $1,800 on eBay, but it was a 10. Okay, it was rated a 10. Hard pass on Dozier. I understand why, too. Dozier has been just a disappointment, but we did see the talent is in there somewhere. And, Ron Chandler once said that once you display an asset, you have that going forward, even if you don't display it every season. Now, I don't know what's up with Hunter Dozier, but we could talk about the sophomore slump maybe. He was just absolutely horrific. I still might take a chance on him, though, late in the draft. I really think I might, because we did see he's capable of over 20 homers. He's capable of stealing a bunch of bases. Right? Maybe I'm wrong. I really think he is. He's capable of stealing bases, but he didn't really do much of that. The older he gets, the less capable he's going to be. So anyway, hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday. Don't forget to come and see George tonight. George will be happy. I got Lorenz in the mail. I finally bought myself a bottle of Lorenz. And because everybody's talking about the Lorenz, George buys this stuff by the case, right? And every time on the website, it says that it tastes like vanilla. It tastes like cinnamon, like French toast type thing. I was thinking that it was going to be more of a sweet liqueur type of alcohol. Maybe something comparable to something like Southern Comfort, maybe is what I was expecting a little bit. It really doesn't taste that much of flavor. It's pretty hardcore tasting of bourbon to me. I feel like it's immediately you get this bourbon flavor for Lorenz. And I got a text message saying that FedEx was bringing me something from Kentucky, and I had to sign for it. And I'm thinking, like, you always get a little bit scared, like, what am I getting served with papers? Who knows, like, what the hell they're bringing me? And you can't find out. So I was just wondering, like, Kentucky, what the heck federal building is in Kentucky? Anyway, the Lorenz came. We have to sign for it. And I guess you can buy liquor online now and have it shipped to you. That's why they need to have a person sign for it at the door. Apparently, Lenny looked old enough to be drinking liquor, so they didn't card him, but that's what we got. Lorenz. So I'll be drinking. We'll have a toast later. That's it. Everybody, I'm out. I'll quit rambling on now.